The Free Speech Union, the champions of free speech in New Zealand, are happy to support Free Speech Fridays here on the platform. We get a couple of free-thinking, free-speaking New Zealanders, and we chew over the events of the week. And we've got quite the pairing today. Someone who I may have had a quiet shandy or glass of Chablis with earlier in the week. And sometimes a platform pinch hitter, Tina Nixon. Tina, how are you?
Very good, Sean.
All right. And also from the Backbencher Gastropub, opposite the Halls of Power in Molesworth Street, Wellington, one of my favourite publicans, Alistair Boyce. Boycey, how are you, mate?
G'day, Sean. G'day, Tina.
Good morning, Boise.
All right. Now, Tina, I just want to start with you quickly. We had Ron Mark earlier on. He told us the sorry story of the revolution in Carterton.
That's
now,
Ron's
I know
version.
you've had a bit.
That's Ron's version.
I know you've had a bit to do with local bodies in that neck of the woods. So, who's in the right or the wrong here?
Ron has a couple of councillors on his side and the rest of the councillors are on the other side. It's been a divided council for quite some time. I have a lot of respect for all of the players in this. But I would just like to say that I'm not sure whether we're hearing all of the facts on this. And the LTP process is incredibly fraught at the moment because of the difficulties around things like three waters. So it makes it very hard for auditors to say, hey, we reckon you're absolutely right in forecasting everything
40 mistakes, 40 questions they want answered, Tina.
No, I'm hearing that there was a lot less than that. And actually it was more about, hey, this document sort of doesn't quite, it needs a bit of reworking. But most of the stuff is minor, and I've seen that before. You can have a list of 10 mistakes, but they're minor.
So why is Ron not wanting to not pass it?
One of the problems, Sean, is that Ron and these other two councillors are tending to do their own thing, and the councillors had never met as a group to discuss what was happening. Now, that is beholden on the current mayor to bring his council alongside him and deal with the issue. And if there was such a big issue, why didn't he call a meeting of the entire council?
I think you're taking sides, Tina. I think you're with the revolutionaries.
I'm just asking questions.
All right. Okay. All right. Battle lines drawn. Look, let's move on to my first thing. And I don't know if we put this on the list because it's only really come up today, but I've had amazing response, Alistair. The government is moving against the road cones, and it sounds bizarre that a government would do this, but basically they're going to have a real good look at traffic safety management for roadworks and public works. And I have been talking to a few people and local body people about this problem, and Ron Mark talked about it. I had a conversation with the Mayor of Nelson, Nick Smith, a couple of weeks ago about this. But it does sound like we've got a real problem here, and that public works, Alistair, are not being undertaken because of the prohibitive cost sometimes of all the bloody road cones.
Yeah, from what I can understand, and of course Wellington's the road cone capital of the world, the traffic management can cost like up to 40% of the job quite often. And there's ridiculous situations. South Wairarappa's one. I was over duck shooting the other week. They were doing some grading on the side of the road, and they put a traffic light system in for all of 10 cars in half a day. This is the idiocy of it, and it's a health and safety thing. And the road cones, I don't know how they're charged out, but the whole thing's exorbitant, and it's a rort, and it needs to be sorted out. It needs to be on a fast-track legislation. Give it to Shane Jones.
All right. Tina, do you think we've got traffic cone madness that needs to stop?
Absolutely, and I think the initial scoping of it, I was reading it this morning, said that 26% of all of the road cone works are unnecessary. So that's 25% are basically like 1 in every 4 of the road cone things that you see out there don't need to be there. And they can sit round with their and pontificate on this issue, but there should be some immediate directions to NZTA to take off out of sight those 25.
I also understand that we have one standard that does not delineate between different risk profiles on different types of roads, which is crazy.
Totally agree. And if you travel from Masterton to Wellington, like I do quite a lot, Boyce is right. I mean, the Wairarapa is just a terrible, terrible place with road cones at the moment, and there are so many times when people just say it's just ridiculous. Also running events, and I'm the president of the showgrounds over here. If you want to run an event, the traffic management plan costs are often prohibitive. We're just really lucky that we've got 3 ways to get in and out of the showgrounds, which makes traffic management very easy. But other venues that have difficulties run into thousands and thousands of dollars just to try and
and those are the stories I've been getting this morning. People who minor works digging a metre square hole, and they've got people in utes and roads being blocked off. It's saying bloody crazy. All right. Talking of crazy or of transport, let's just stay with the transport. A obviously deliberately leaked report, Boise, today on the ferry grounding, which the unions, which wouldn't let their people be drug or alcohol tested after the accident, suggest that someone pushed wrong button, lad, and turned on autopilot.
Yeah, and they blame the government. It's because we didn't buy those new ferries. No. The whole organisation of Kiwi Rail is not fit for purpose. You've got a whole lot of overpaid fat cats who should be union officials. And then you look across the way at the Blue Bridge. I was on the Blue Bridge a couple of months ago. We left on time and we got in early, both ways. You couldn't guarantee that with the Transrail and the ferries on that side. I think they're all just making excuses, and they're on the socialist revolution against the incoming government who are demanding accountability.
Yeah. Tina, I don't know, something rings true about someone pushing the wrong button. I always go for cock up over conspiracy.
I think Winston's got it right, and Winston knows about boats, and I mean, that's my background.
Oh,
too,
did that ferry, wasn't there that way back years ago, the ferry, the Russian submarine and the ferry or something? Or the ferry that grounded, or Winston said it grounded and it never did or something?
Well, there could be that in it too, but the autopilot on a big boat like that, it sounds to me like someone just wasn't in the right place at the right time or didn't know what button to press, and that is just a fundamental systemic error. And so it should be relatively easy to come to a conclusion on it, and a report should be out. There shouldn't be too much mucking around on this, and it does seem to be quite a bit of obfuscation from Kiwi Rail on it.
Yeah, and they've got a very active union on those ferries too, Tina.
Totally, very, very active union, and they should just be sold. Why do we think we need to run ferries? Yeah, Blue Bridge does fine. Get it out to the private market, set the parameters of what you want in terms of delivery, and let some other bugger do it.
Yeah, and we did start this week, Alistair, and I just looked at it and said, here are the reasons, and some people had laid me out. I know I have a fair idea on what that report that's been written for the government is, and it says that we were going for big giltage ferries that we had to make bespoke made, and they are not the practical solution to that transport link. As you said, Alistair, a private company seems to be doing fine. Why do we need to spend billions on a government-run company?
No, it's not our business. We've got to get government and council out of being so highly involved in regulating business and with all this ridiculous amount of compliance. They're feeding themselves jobs, and they're making the private sector pay for it. And the private sector's coming under more and more pressure. Its very existence. Wellington's the classic example. The private sector's leaving Wellington in droves. It's not possible for small businesses on these new cycleway routes that cut the customers off from the businesses. And then they've now an arterial route, Thorndon Quay, is the next one that they're cutting. They just want to get rid of all the cars and all the traffic, but they're getting rid of the customers at the same time. Thorndon Quay is an arterial route, and they're trying to put 6 raised crossings. Now, whoever was responsible for this decision making in the votes in council, they need a red letter warnings. They've got to go.
All right. Well, and you know what? Simeon Brown, who was dealing to the road cones, is keeping quite a close eye on Wellington City Council. And they will need to watch their step. Guys, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to talk about Susie Wiles, Luxon's visit to the US and Darlene Tana. Right now, though, we're just going to take a break from the Free Speech Union supported Free Speech Friday.